Welcome, and thanks for joining us today. You're listening to the Women's Broadcast Television Expert Spotlight Show, and I'm your host, Shea. WBTVN is the all-women's internet television station with content that's created by women and for women. And today, joining us on the WBTVN Expert Spotlight is an amazing woman. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Gina Cology is the creator of Gina Cology, a lifestyle health and wellness revolution, where she is a speaker, lifestyle health and wellness consultant, author, and a natural beauty and transformational life coach. Help me welcome Gina to the show. Hi, Gina.
Hey, Shea. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing great. And, you've done so many great things. You look wonderful and healthy. And I know that your inspiration helps a lot of other women and clients to make that transformation and to feel great about themselves and kind of live the life that they're looking to live. Tell me a little bit about how you got started on this path and got to where you are today. So what was your, growing up, what was that all about, and how did you get to where you are?
You know, it's so funny because this is a question that is sort of like become a standard interview question when people are being interviewed. And I was thinking about this because I knew this would come up. And I'll share a little bit, but I feel like what for me matters the most is what inspires me to do this work. And in the beginning, I mean, as a child, growing up as a little girl, I was always annoyed by how much attention was given to my physical appearance. She's so pretty. She's so pretty. And whereas we're indoctrinated to think that's a wonderful thing to hear, for some reason in my brain, I kept going, why is that the only thing anybody ever says to me? Even as a kid, it was like, there's a lot of stuff in here that's beyond this. Why is this all anybody ever fusses over? So that was one thing, just an observation of how I was being treated as a female. The thing that really set me into motion with me, because a lot of my work is very focused around a woman's body as we have body language, not the kind that we talk about in terms of communication, but because we get periods and because we get pregnant and give birth and we go through menopause, there's a language system that's built into the female body that is incredible. And so when I got my first period, that language woke up in me. And even though I had a mother and everyone else around me who had said, your period is going to make you suffer, and it's this and it's that, all the negative things we hear, I was having this incredibly empowering experience. I felt superhuman. I felt like I could see through walls. I felt like it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. And every month I had that feeling. So as I grew up and I got into my 20s, and I was still having this experience of, why does anybody ever only talk about my physical appearance? And I played around with it. I would try not wearing makeup. I would try wearing baggy clothes. And I finally came to understand that it's really this energy that was living inside of me as a woman. And because I was connected to myself, not just as an external part of myself, which is unfortunately what happens to us as females. We get taught, make sure the outside looks good because that's all you're worth. I was connected to an internally referring place. So I was moving through life not really caring so much that everybody was making a big deal about the physical appearance. And I thought, something? This bothers me. And I feel like I can make a difference in other women's lives by sharing and teaching. And so it's been a lot of my own journey as a woman, trying to figure out how to be the kind of woman that makes me feel empowered from within myself, that makes me feel my own value and worth, and how I can translate that out into my life. And I love, love, love. I mean, in my coaching work, I hate the word coaching because it's such a common word. I feel like I teach you how to live true to yourself and to shed, almost like a stripper. I mean, in some ways I say I'm a stripper. I help women, get rid of all.
Go away. Strip it away. Yeah, I totally understand.
And so I help you strip away from that, because it really upsets me to see young girls. I have a daughter who's 21 now. And when she was about 8 years old, I created a body of work that helps to empower young girls so they don't get these messages and they have another place to go and a way to find their own voice. So I get very, very, very inspired by the idea of helping women break free from this idea that all we are is this. There's so much more.
Well, and I think that you are fortunate, seriously, to have all this, as you call it, okay? Because I think there's a lot of girls that grow up maybe sometimes in the shadow of someone else, and they don't get told that they're pretty. Right. So although it wasn't everything that you wanted to hear, it certainly gave you self-confidence in feeling that you had, you know, that people like to look at you and be around you. And so there's a certain amount of confidence that comes with that. And I love the fact that you wanted to go deeper within inside yourself and be able to not just have this, but have this.
Yes, this is the most important.
This is what really, you know, counts. And but I think that sometimes, you know, there's beauty comes in different packages. We meet people that we just love because they just have that easygoing, loving, you know, nature about themselves. Or we meet somebody that, you know, just becomes more beautiful to you as you get to know them as a personality and as a person. And then there's that person that you meet and is just so striking, like you are, and beautiful. And you don't really, you're so caught up in that. And I think that's what you're really saying, is that you don't really get the opportunity to get to know that person as easily and to find out what they're really all about, because that person just really blows up with you because they're beautiful not only inside, but out, I mean, not only outside, but also inside.
Yeah, I think though that the focus for me was seeing how I was always very strong and sort of able to have a very clear voice even as a young child, very provocative, saying things nobody else would say, asking questions no one would ask. But it's always upset me that whereas I could be aware of that within myself, I wanted to make a difference in other women's lives who didn't have that awareness, who were growing up feeling from an early age, and then all through your entire adult life, it doesn't go away when you're indoctrinated into the idea, well, you better make sure that you're attractive physically because that's all you've got, girl. And that infuriates me. We have this entire language happening in our physiology as women that is breathtaking, that is fraught with all kinds of wisdom and guidance and intuitive insight that we're disconnected from because, you know, we really grow up with a sense of somehow being damaged because we have these biological processes that it's shameful, don't talk about them.
Right.
Things we think we're talking about in public, and still women are, you know, kind of like their periods. Oh, we can't talk about that, you know. So it upsets me, and I want to change that. I really feel like this is a revolution for me to bring women home into their bodies, being comfortable in their bodies, whatever the shape or the size, and to acknowledge your own beauty, whatever that is, inside, outside. Inside first, the outside, yes, you take care of the outside. But that's what really drives me, is the idea of changing that for young girls and women, you know.
Right. So tell me, Gina, what is Gina Cology all about? I know that you mentioned health and lifestyle and all of those things. You're speaking my language because I've been in health and fitness and speaking and author and tons of things that I've done, lots of media. And, you know, I think to each person, as we talk about it, it takes on a different value, a different purpose. And I just would love to hear yours.
Yeah. So Gina Cology is it sounds like gynecology. People always say, you know, it sounds like gynecology. Well, yeah, it kind of does. And it's kind of a great play on my name. Because it's really my philosophy that I have developed and created over the course of my life, being a woman, living as a woman, having a woman's experiences, living in this body. And I've come up with 10 principles that help me to live my life, staying in touch with what those things are. For instance, the first principle is you are your own best doctor. No one knows your state of health and wellness better than you do. Your doctor is a team player, not the boss of you. Came up with that when my daughter was young, when he used to say.
That's true.
But it's stuck, and I like it. And because that's just, you know, one, we don't have time to go through all 10 of them, but there's the idea that when we learn to honor what we feel about our bodies, I can't tell you how many women I've worked with who've said they've gone to their doctors and with a complaint, and they're being either being dismissed or they're being given a pill without any kind of testing.
Right.
They feel devalued. They feel that the doctor's devaluing what they know. You live inside your own body. no one else knows. And every woman has her own hormone cocktail going on, no matter what the age. It's so unique to us. It's like a fingerprint. Our hormone cocktails are like a fingerprint. And when you learn that you are your own best doctor and you go to a doctor who treats you that way, you say, I'm going to someone else who wants to be on my team. So there are these principles that I take you through. They're actually on my website. You can find them. And I tell women, print them out, put them on the fridge, put them on your bathroom mirror. To remind you, that
paste them all over. I do that too. So I believe in that. So that you can be reminded. You look at them and they remind you of what this is all about.
Yes. So these principles are things that I've come up with that have helped me when I'm going through difficult times, or I'm feeling challenged, or I don't feel great about myself in a moment, because we all have, self-doubt, and sometimes we just feel like we don't know why we're doing what we're doing. It's not getting us where we want to go. Sometimes we feel over the moon and we feel fantastic, but it's about remembering it's all part of the journey, and the flow. So these 10 principles are a way to help us as women stay aligned with that integrity of being a woman, which is also being lost in a world that is dominated by the masculine energy of do. It's not about unplugging, taking the time to be and to just, it's okay to do nothing. I love doing nothing. And because then I can feel myself and I can hear that incredibly wise voice that she's within me all the time. When you're constantly going, you can't hear that. So it's about unplugging a lot from that masculine energy that's driving the world and getting more and more intense. Because the women that I work with, a lot of them that come to me they know something's missing, and what's missing is their own woman essence, because they've felt in order to be successful and have what they'd like to, they have to behave as men.
Mm-hmm. Well, I definitely believe in being in the moment, and I've done a lot of interviews and talked about what I honestly think being in the moment is, and I've written a book on it. And so that doesn't make me an expert. It tells you that I've got my own, vision of what I think all of that is. And I have principles too. I talk about 5 principles of wellness, which is commitment, perseverance, self-control, integrity, and love. Because one of the things that happens, and I love the fact that you've got, 10 things that you really are promoting, so that people can really think about those things and think about how they bring them into their lives and how do they apply them to their lives. And people need those kinds of things. They need tools, they need guides, because living life, is about needing the tools to be able to live that life that you really want to live, and not being, stressed out all the time, and not living a life that you kind of look in the mirror and you go, what am I doing? Or you do something, you go back and, well, what was I thinking? I've often said I'm going to write my next book, although I've had my next book, but I was going to write a book saying, what was I thinking? Because I have a lot of those moments when I think, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? And sometimes we're not thinking, or we're thinking not clearly enough to really think, well, what are the repercussions of that? We don't think it through. We don't analyze it. Is this truly what I mean before we actually do it or say it? And so that's the same way in making choices. We have choices every single day of our life when we wake up, and the choice is, what is your day going to look like? Now, you may not be able to, change some of the things that happened in your life, because life has a way of coming in and just kind of like hitting you in the face, one way or the other. And you have to deal with that. But how we deal with it and the tools that we use to do that, and I think this is what you're really teaching, your clients, is that here are these tools that when these things happen to you, when you feel down, when you feel that you can't, get over those bumps or whatever, take a deep breath. Take a look at these 10, guides that you have, and see how it actually applies to your life, and make a difference.
Now, pick one that you need today. What do you need today that would support you in that? But there's also, in addition to what you were saying, sometimes like what was I thinking? Sometimes we have to give ourselves a break, because in the moment, as a mother, I know that this has happened to me a million times, and anybody that's a mother will understand what I'm about to say. But what was I thinking? Sometimes you actually did your best in that moment, but you come back and later and you 20/20 hindsight it and you judge yourself. And I think that's very undermining, because when we're doing the best we can, it doesn't always work out. And we have to be willing to say, okay, I did the best I could. And maybe if I knew what I know now, I would have done something different. But be kind and gentle to yourself. And I've beat myself up a lot, especially as a parent, and I was a single mom since my daughter was 5. And you make a lot of mistakes. And it's not just as a parent, but in other areas of our life as well. Things happen, and you do the best you can, and then you go forward from there. Because I think for some reason, as women, we kind of tend to beat ourselves up a little bit more. We don't let it go when we need to let it go. So I think that's also a very important thing that we learn to do with ourselves. It's an act of self-love, really.
Yeah, I have to share with you that I definitely believe that in majority of cases that we do the best that we can. Yes. But the other side of that is that I think it can be an excuse. And that means I did my best. And you really didn't do your best. If you really sit back and you really think about it, I hear it so many times that I wonder if that person really does believe that they did the best. Because if you sit down and coach and talk to people like you do, you're going to find out that it's not about having a regret. It's about just not making a decision so quickly or judgmentally. And you don't even realize that you're doing this is all, non-conscious. But the truth of the matter is we do need time to kind of think of things through a little bit, clearer, so that we don't make those mistakes, or that something doesn't come out of our mouth that is going to be hurtful and not meaningful, that you mean to do that. But doing my best, I have to honestly say through the years, just in talking and with clients and groups, and I said, I did my best. You can't expect more than that. And I kind of go, okay, but I wonder, is that really your best? Because I know that when you're really doing your best, that you take the time to think about that. It's the difference between getting up in the morning and saying, this is a wonderful day. I don't care if it's raining outside. I don't care, what it's all about, but it's setting the mindset more than anything else to what the day is going to be, and being able to say, hey, whatever comes my way, I'm going to deal with it. Because you can't step out of the way on everything anyway, so you're going to have to deal with it sooner or later. But the other side of that is that so many things that come our way really don't need all the attention that we give it.
Absolutely. We get distracted by
it. Because most of the stuff that we're worried about or things that are going to happen never end up happening. So we need to take that step back. But I have to honestly say, I do believe that most people do their best in majority of cases, but I also feel that it can be an excuse for people to say, hey, I've done my best. Look at the obesity problem that we have as an epidemic in the world. And so is everybody doing their best on that?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. So, but I can tell you that, sitting down with people, they always know what they should be doing in lifestyle, since you're a lifestyle coach. Lifestyle, that's just part of what lifestyle is. Lifestyle takes into consideration everything that you do, whether it's financials, whether it's, weight, whether it's, decisions that you make, the communities that you live in, whether you give back or whatever it is. It takes in every aspect of your life. And I can't say, I couldn't even say I give my best to all of that. I don't. There's things that I give more to than I do others. And I try every single day to make that as even as I possibly can.
Yeah, and I think, though, that part of that, Shea, is part of that paradigm of doing our best. Sometimes, it depends on what's going on in your life, and your best today looks different than your best did when you were at your best, because sometimes we're at our worst. And there's still my best today. And I think as women, because my work is so focused around women, we do have a tendency to feel like it's not okay to be imperfect. And it's around us in an external way. There are expectations, how we're socialized, how we're raised to be the one that takes care of other people, and to do things in a way that even supersedes what's expected of men in business or in any other aspect of their lives. But part of, I think, doing our best is being present to our own emotional landscape. And when we're so busy and we're doing so much, that's something that gets overlooked. And when we neglect our needs emotionally or have a complete lack of awareness of what they are, we can't do our best in our life, because that's an important part of who we are. And it's almost like, the sense I have is it's like, oh, just get over it, just do it. It's on your to-do list, get it done, just do it. And I think part of the doing, what has to be added to that to-do list, is to just be also. And I think that's part of what my principles try to encourage, is that we do things that access us in a way that allows us to be true to our authentic selves. Because what I perceive is like a lack of joylessness that's been happening.
Lack of joy is in a lot of people, yeah. They need to find joy in their life, and they can do that. But I think it's almost like they think they're not deserving. And they need to find, exactly, and they need to find that lifestyle that embraces the fact that, we're meant to have abundance in our lives, and we do deserve to have that. And how do we go about, creating it? Yes. And everything is just taking small steps forward and not thinking about, oh my gosh, I have to just change everything in my life. And nobody's capable of doing that. So you need to take steps one by one to be able to get to where you need to be. But little changes in your life, especially in how you think about things and how you approach things and how you solve issues, and more importantly is your emotional side of things. The more that we get our balance in life, people are always saying, I need balance in life, and we do. But the balance in their life is more of controlling their emotions and their thoughts, and using their intelligence and wisdom of that brain that we have up here that's the engine for our life, and putting that in perspective and letting that drive what you want rather than the emotional side of it.
Yeah, and it's funny that I have a very different perspective, because I think in a lot of ways the mind is what's destroying us as human beings, because we think too much. Think about the mind, think about the brain, they're two different things. But I think there needs to be a union between this and this, and that this is in service to this. But when we don't have time to really tune in to what our needs are, what our desires are, and like you said, joy is missing. And what made us joyful? I mean, think back to when you were a child. What made you joyful? And when was the last time you felt joy? I mean, as you're listening to us right now, and you're listening to this interview, when was the last time you actually felt the emotion of joy? What made you feel it? Though that's something you need to do more often, whether it's laughing, whether it's watching a sunset, whether it's making love, whether it's whatever it is that's bringing you joy. We need more of that in our lives, because we don't, and I think we live too much up here. And it's almost becoming like a negative to say, oh, this is what I feel. Now, there's a difference between letting your emotions run your life and making you reactive instead of responsive, because reactiveness is from our past and responsiveness is dealing with what's up in the moment. So there's a difference between letting your emotions take over and make you, crazy and all over the place. But you have to know them. You have to know what's going on, and then to have your wisdom be in service to how you navigate your life. But with an awareness of this, and I think, especially as women, we're losing touch with our ability to even know what we're feeling, because we're driven by this external doing model that's kind of the entire planet, So I think that has to shift as well.
I do too, and I think I definitely agree with you that we have too much going on up here. But the too much that we have going on up here is the emotional stress that we give ourselves. If our intelligence tell us this is too much, then we need to find a way to be able to help ourselves get to a different place and shoo fly all of that away. So I think that we're saying it. I think that we believe in this in the same things, because we know that our body, every cell in our body, talks to our mind, and our mind actually has a conversation with it. That's proven. I mean, medically proven. I wrote stuff on that, but here's what I'm actually saying is that the brain is the power to be able and intelligently use it to say, No, I'm not. I don't want to deal with that stress. I want that to go away. I'm saying using the intelligence and the mindfulness of the brain rather than the brain trying to figure out, what thing do I solve first or what emotion should I deal with or whatever. So when you say that there's too much going on up here, it's because it is coming from the cells and from the body. And I definitely believe everything comes from the heart. The first cell that is formed when you're conceived is a heart cell. And so everything starts there and comes back to that. I've said that a million times. And so, I definitely believe that we need to have a better connection between our heart, not our feelings, okay, but our heart and what we really, what we really care about, really what makes a difference in our life and what we want our life to be about needs to filter up into our brain so that our heart and our brain can have this communication instead of the body and the emotions having that.
Right, exactly. And so I always say the longest distance we ever take is the journey from the head to the heart.
The heart, yeah, exactly.
Becomes wisdom.
Yeah, I agree. So let me ask you a question. So if you had a few words or a sentence or whatever, because I know you have these, 10 guidelines that you use. And I think that's great. I mean, you need those tools. But if you wanted to give our audience just a tip or some advice on what do they need to do and really concentrate on first and foremost, what would that wisdom be?
I think what I've learned in my journey, first and foremost, is never doubt your intuitive voice. Never doubt that voice. It's wiser than any thought we ever have because, again, like we were just talking about, it comes from here. Now, there's a difference between the intuitive voice and the ego voice, which many times is about surviving and staying alive and getting what it wants. And I remember one day years ago, I had a profound awareness about the difference between those two voices because it gets tricky. And especially when you're someone that works on yourself in your life, you can get real slick and tricky in your mind about, oh, that was really my intuition, but it's an ego thing. So what came through for me is that when it's my true intuitive voice, my gut area, which is where everybody, you get that knot in your stomach, you get, this is as human beings, right? When it's a true intuitive voice, there's peace in this area, in the gut area, the third chakra, whatever you want to call it, whatever you identify with. There's no noise. There's no static. When it's my ego voice trying to get its way, I feel a knot in there. Something's like, nah, that's not really right. So I've learned to tune in. And again, listen to your intuitive voice, but the body is tied to that as women. Like I said, this is a tower. This is like a communications tower, this body we live in. And so in order to be able to even know that distinction between, the egoic voice and the intuitive voice, you have to be present in your body to feel that sensation. And a lot of women are checked out of their bodies, and because we're made to feel so many negative things around our bodies. So of course you're going to check out. So getting back in your body, listening to it, and always honoring. Women, many, many times women will say, I had a feeling, and it always turns out to be right, but I didn't listen to it. I didn't pay any attention to it. I think that is the most important thing for us to, and honestly for all human beings, men and women as well. I just think that we have access to that voice more readily, more easily because of this communications tower, as I refer to our bodies. But we're just not dialing into it. It's like if you don't tune to the radio station, you can't get the message.
Right. And I think that you're so right, intuitiveness. It's right there. It's telling, it's really telling you something. And so many times we go, oh, no, I'm just feeling that way, but it's not really, that's not how it's going to be. And yet there's been so many stories that have been told when somebody really listened to that gut and even took a way home differently because they felt that going home the normal way was not going to be safe. And then they find out that a woman was killed or somebody, happened to them. They go, oh my goodness, there was a reason why I felt that. And there always is. Gina, how does everyone get in touch with you so that they can reach you if they need to?
My website is ginacology.com, and there it is back there. We've been staring at it the whole time. It's Gina, GINACOLOGY.com. And I blog. There's a ton of amazing articles I've written about a lot of things relevant to women, but men follow my work pretty intensely as well. In fact, when I wrote my book, Woman: A New Definition in 2009, I had actually more reviews from men than women. Men find it a conversation that they like to step in on. And if you go to my website, you can actually download a free copy of my book by joining my list. Doing a retreat in Sicily in May, a women's retreat based on those principles as well. So, but just go to my website. You can also reach out and contact me, information on my coaching, which I love doing. I love helping women come alive within themselves and find their own power. And it really is something that I'm very passionate about. And
well, I think you're a good role model for that, because you can see it in everything that you say and feel. And you would believe in that because of that. So I want to thank you so much for being on the show today and spending time to share your story, with us. I want to thank the audience for being with us today too. And here at the WBTVN Expert Spotlight Show. And Gina, we hope that we see you again soon.
I would absolutely love to.
Yeah, and if anyone is interested in being interviewed or wants to know any information regarding WBTN and being a host or having an interview, please go on to wbtvn.tv. Until the next time, again, Gina, thank you, and we'll see you again soon.